Hello YouTube. Alright, so what we've got today is I am pumping out old fluid out of my transmission and I'm going to add new fluid. So I've got a jug here that's marked how many fluids you've got, and so now it's going to make it a lot easier whenever it comes time to add fluid back in. That way, you know, if you just empty it all out into any kind of pan, well then you're going to sit there and add a quart here, add a half quart and whatnot. So I'm going to try to eliminate as much of that as possible. So the reason why I'm doing this, I'm having issues shifting. It's going into limp mode and whatnot. So a couple years ago, I tried to change the shift solenoid out. The shift solenoid, the new part, it stayed in fourth gear, wouldn't come in or out. It would just stay. It's automatic transmission. But so I put the old shift solenoid back on after cleaning up the contacts and stuff. Worked great. Started having issues again. Put seafoam in there, worked great. Started having issues again. But even if you drop the pan like I did a couple years ago, you're not getting all that transmission fluid out of there. So what I'm guessing is some of the new fluid mixed with some of the old fluid that was burnt out, and then you kind of have newish, oldish fluid, if that makes any sense. So now what we're going to do, I'm pumping out. I'm going to pump out about 3 quarts. I want to add 3 quarts back into it. And what I'm doing is you can find these at Tractor Supply. Ordered mine off eBay. They come with 2 hoses. It had 2 red hoses. It had a few other attachments that I don't really plan on using, but the intake was too short by, I don't know, a few inches, and so you want to be able to get to the bottom of that transmission pan. So I went to Tractor Supply, got a 1/2 inch hose that's 5 feet long, and I've still got, you know, a little slack here. So I'm going to show you my setup. I've already got a couple quarts out. So all I did here is pulled the dipstick straight out. There's the dipstick, and right there I just put this black hose. You follow it, let's see where you at, there you go, follow it straight to where the dipstick goes. Push it in there till it bottomed out. Here's your intake right there, there's your out. So I routed that down here to this old jug where it's marked on the side how many quarts you've got. So I'm just about done. I've already got a couple quarts pumped out. It came with an attachment, this little, let me get you set back up, this little puny black hose. So you could use for like an extension, but if my luck, if I try something like that, the extension is going to come off, the red hose is going to drop down or be somewhere where I can't grab it. And so then you're stuck with this rubber hose inside your intake or inside your dipstick channel there. So that's just asking for trouble. So to prevent that, I went and got this 5-foot hose. I'm gonna check my levels here. We're at about 2 quarts, so I've still got plenty more to go. This, as far as the pump though, the pump works great. I've tried a smaller hand pump before, and it was just too much pull. The fluid's too thick for it to try to pump it all the way back up that where your dipstick goes. So we're just slowly pumping it out. I want to keep just randomly checking here. Alright, now I'm done using it. Here's what the actual pump looks like. So the end, when I get done with this, I'm probably going to label which one's in, which one's out, just for easy way to remember it. So like I said, you've got 2 hoses that come with this pump, or 2 red hoses, and so that one was just, it was like 1 inch too short, or it was 1 inch shorter than my dipstick. So I went to Tractor Supply and bought this one, and that's a 1/2 inch hose. It was 5 feet long, and I ended up having like a foot and a half extra. So this right here is the little I think it's supposed to be like an adapter or something that you're supposed to maybe stick in there for an extension, but with my luck it would come apart somehow, and then you'd have that red tube struck off down in your dipstick tube there. So you definitely don't want that. So back to it. So now I pulled out our 3 quarts that I was wanting to pull out. So we got that there, and we could have probably pulled out more, but all I had was 3 quarts in the shed, so it's kind of hard to pull it out and then drive somewhere. But so now I've got that in. I've got our funnel in. I'm going to pour in a can of seafoam for the transmission. There is 2, so make sure that if you're doing this for your transmission and you want to try seafoam, you get the one that says trans on it, because they do have one that's made for your oil, so you don't want to get those two mixed up. All right, so now we're back. Now I always try to wear some sort of glasses. Well, I guess I ought to put them on right here. So I always try to wear some sort of glasses, especially when you got something that's under pressure, like transmission fluid or something like that. Piss, fine. So, damn cam's trying to make me look weak. Oh yeah, when you got something under pressure, like like that transmission fluid that was in that hose, because you only get one set of eyes. You slip around and do something and get a good dose of transmission fluid in there, it's probably gonna be pretty rough. I guess it's like a 2-for-1 type video. So trying out the siphon tool and adding some seafoam to it. But at this point, I'm about ready to drive this truck off a dang cliff. So we'll just see what happens. Which is crazy, because after it gets warmed up, there's no problems at all. But just yesterday, I bet I didn't go 5 miles down the road, and I had to turn it off twice to turn it off and then turn it back on so it would start back over in first gear. Even if I put it in park, it wouldn't take it. So I had to actually turn it off. The week before that, or maybe it's 2 weeks ago, double check. Yep, 2 quarts. So I pulled out 3. I got another quart sitting over there. And I pulled out my funnel for no good reason. So, a few weeks ago, I was dealing with the same thing, trying to go to work early in the morning. The transmission jumped right back down in limp mode. And so I turned it off at a stop sign, because it was a Sunday morning, there was nobody coming. And then I turned it off, well, it wouldn't come back on. So I was like, well, that's not good. So I quit, give it a second to sit there and let it gather its wits. Tried it again. The starter would just sit there and spin and spin and spin, would never come on. I thought it was a different part. I thought it was a sensor for the crankshaft position sensor. So I swapped that out after I worked a 12-hour shift. Still same thing, ended up having to get it towed, and it ended up being the fuel pump. Never had an issue with the fuel pump. And it could have just been its time, or it could have been me turning it off and turning it on so much. So this part will get boring. I'm gonna stop the video. A second, let everything run down, and then we'll put the dipstick in there and see how close we are. So a lot of starting and stopping, a lot of dead air, so I didn't figure you want to sit there and watch me pour in fluid. That's not really very exciting. So there's 2 markers on your dipstick here. You've got I don't know if you'll be able to see that. Which way? So the 2 dots there at the bottom, in between there should be your cold reading, and right there, those other 2 marks are. So there's your cold. I guess I got it upside down, but man, it's just not. So we'll just wing it. So right there, that should be your cold. Higher up the dipstick, that should be once it's up to temperature. So check whatever kind of make and model you got. I think mine's supposed to be up to operating temperature, and then in neutral. I mean, make sure you're on level ground. Of course, that's going to make a huge difference. So let me check this and I'll get back with you. All right, well, good news. We just got back from the test drive. Everything was great. No going to the limp mode or staying in staying in 4th gear. That's what limp mode does. It goes into that so you can limp back to the house. That's why they call it that. So everything went great. No more downshifting. Everything shifted smooth. So between the fluid flush, you wave at everybody where I live. So even if you don't know them, but either which way, between the fluid flush and the seafoam, we're having great results. So I hope this video helps. There's some more stuff that come in with that package, that little pump. It seemed like it had like a little fitting for like if you want to air up a tire or something like that. I've got plenty of air compressors and bicycle pump stuff. So I don't plan on using that part, so I didn't even show it. if you're interested in it, you can find it on eBay. I also saw them at Tractor Supply. They may even have them at Walmart. They're very handy because I guess every transmission I've seen, I've never seen a pan on a transmission that had a drain plug like oil or anything like that. And so if you're going to drop that pan, you're going to get all that transmission fluid on you. So that helped a lot. And if I have to drop the pan again to get to that solenoid, I'll end up pulling all the fluid out of the pan like that, instead of the time before that where I dropped the pan and fluid went everywhere. So it worked. So I hope this helps. I'm a one-man band here, so my videos they're not the greatest as far as I don't have tripods and all that stuff. But when I have trouble, I go to YouTube to try to help me troubleshoot. So I just try to pay it back. So if it helped you out, give me a thumbs up. If you got questions, leave them in the comments. I'll be glad to answer them if I can. I'm no mechanic by any means. I just try to save money where I can. Y'all have a good one.